Welcome, lovely one, to the Meant for More podcast. My name's Lisa Clifford, and I am building the world's most empowering Meant for More movement, leading millions of heart-led purpose seekers from feeling insignificant to invincible. So I truly hope you enjoy this next episode. Welcome, Richard. We go back. I'm here with Richard Wade, who I would call, he'll die when I say this, well, hopefully not, the health and safety and risk extraordinaire, is the guru, in my view. We go back, I don't know how many years. Is it back to 2007, 2008?
It is. It's a long, long time, Lisa. You're right. Back end of then, about 2007, 2008 in York, the York days.
The
Yeah.
York Business Network, of which I still to this day, most of my great friends and business contacts I established through networking, and I think networking is a little bit different these days. But and I've always known you to be in health and safety and in risk management, but I've never considered you boring.
Oh, good. That's a bonus. I'll take that anytime, any day.
And I've seen you grow and develop what you offer over the years, and the beauty of LinkedIn, I love seeing your videos of you in a farmyard. And one of the videos I saw not too long ago was that you did this, and I just thought, wow, you get to do this, where you'd been asked to test and measure the security of a farm. And you were saying, like, how many people would love to be able to say, and we stole a tractor and we stole this and we got it right down the track and nobody knew about it.
Oh, that was great. That was really good fun. Yeah.
I just watched that and I thought, God, how did Richard create a business where he gets to steal for a little? It sounds like I've got an aspiration here to be a thief, but to steal and it be all in the spirit, or all to help a business have the best and right security in place whilst being safe. So I've just loved your updates.
Good.
On LinkedIn, Friday updates of where have you been.
Yeah.
And I just don't know how you've crammed it all in, but the subject today that we're talking about is meant for more. You know, that I certainly remember when I realized I was working away for a hotel group, loved it. I'd worked my way up from the bottom. It's all I'd ever wanted. But there was a moment when I thought, God, I'm meant for more than this. And this has been my dream. But I do know I'm meant for more, and what it takes to then work out what that is. And it's more meaning and more difference and more impact. But it takes a lot of courage, and it takes even to have the clarity. So I pose this question to you in the spirit of knowing a moment when you felt like you were meant for more. Can you pinpoint times in your life and what that is?
Can, yeah. There's been a few, Lisa, and it's interesting that it goes back quite some time. It actually goes back. The first one, I put a bit of thought into this. So the first time I had that kind of moment, I thought, do you know what? I can do something else other than what I'm currently doing. I was still serving in the British Army, and I was I was a warrant officer. So I was a warrant officer class 2, and I was an instructor. I had a really good job, a creamy job. It was awesome. And I loved my job. I was very good at it. I really enjoyed it, and I loved the army. I did 15 years in the British Army in the medical corps.
What
And at this
age?
time,
What age did you go in?
16, I joined almost straight after school. Yeah, I left school. This is in 1982. I left school after my O levels. Didn't do too clever on those, but I subsequently did them again. By the way, left school in the middle of 82, and on the 7th of September 1982, I turned up at Keogh Barracks in Aldershot with a little suitcase and a bag on my back. And then I spent the next 15 years in the British Army, and I loved it. It was awesome. and I'm really still close to that now. We'll maybe come back to that later. What I currently do that's still related to the army, which is very, very important to me. So I did that and stayed in the army 15 years. And this is going back to your question. In 1997, I got a random phone call from an old army buddy of mine. He's still a friend of mine and became a business partner of mine. You will have met him in the York days, Tony. We ran a business in York together for 10 years. Anyway, he'd left the army. He was working for this insurance company in London called Lambert Fenchurch. And he said, right, he goes, are you happy where you are in the army? And I said, extremely happy. How can you not be happy doing what I do? I love it. He goes, yeah, but we're looking for someone just like you in our company, and I can get you an interview. And it wasn't on my agenda. I would plan that I'd at least do another 7 years in the army, and at the 22-year point, leave, get a nice big fat pension, get my feet up, and do whatever. But it piqued my interest, so I started inquiring about, well, so what are you doing, and what do you do? And it sounded all right. It was consultancy of safety and risk management, but not in green camouflage. They used to wear suits back in the day. I said, all right. I said, tell you what, get me that interview. Why didn't I come up and have a look and see what it's all about? And this is really quite funny. So he got me an interview, and I remember it really well. A Friday afternoon, I went up to London. I was living I had a house in Basingstoke at the time. That was army-wise, I was the oldest shot. Went up to London, went for this interview, and I got met by this fella, lovely guy, two guys, Paul Welling and Matthew Bates. Ah, you're Richard. I'm Richard. Yeah, welcome. Come on, we're off down the pub. Oh, I'm thinking, hang on, I thought I was coming for an interview. Yeah, but we're going to have a pint and bite to eat first. So we went to the pub and we drank a couple of beers and we talked about cricket and football and all these things. Nobody said anything at all about safety and risk. And, so what do you know about this, that, and the other? Not once. And then we went back to the office and, right, okay, Richard, I'll see you out. This is Paul Welling, he's the main director. And we get in the lift and we're going down to the basement. He says, so the job's yours. When can you start? I'm like, what the hell's just happened to me here? Well, I got a free lunch and a couple of beers. Anyway, it really got me thinking. And so this is that first time that I thought, decision to make here. Got a great job. I'm in the army. I love it. And I got a house, live in Basingstoke. I don't live on the camp, but pretty settled. What have I got to lose? So I did it. I handed my notice in on the Monday. I went and seen my boss, Major Ian Crowe, and said, "Oh, I've got a bit of news for you. I'm leaving." You know, yeah, whatever, sort, Major. Yeah, very, very funny. I went, no, seriously. And this is true. 3 weeks later, I was handing in my stuff and my ID card, and I left the army on the Friday 3 weeks later, and I started my risk management, health and safety consultancy job on the Monday in my little briefcase, toddling up to London. It was dead funny, but that was that first time where I thought I can do something different here, and as it turned out, it set me on that journey that was to become quite fascinating and fun and horrendous at times that is my life. So that was the first time, Lisa, of change.
Do you when you think about it, when you were in the army, so many people feel there's a fear about civvy life, and you feel institutionalized in the forces. You know exactly where you stand with everything and exactly what's expected, and you know your role. How did it feel that the noise in the background is Lexi? She's
the dog
in the sunshine. Yeah. How did you feel? Yeah, the dog. If you don't know me, you don't know that Lexi's a dog.
Let's clarify that.
Thank you. How did you feel taking that step out of all that you'd ever known and into what must have, to me, this is projection, of course, like the big, wide world of uncertainty? Was there a lot of fear? Did you feel like, oh no, I want to go in that space of resigning and actually leaving, in that gap? Did your mind go, I'm doing it, I'm not doing it, I'm doing it, I'm not doing it? Or did you just, yay?
So I've made that you make a very good point because you, the level of fear and trepidation was beyond anything I'd ever experienced. Going back to what you said about the military, you hit it right on the head. So any part of the military, Army, Navy, Air Force, whatever it might be, you know where you're going to be at what time, you know what you're going to be dressed in, you know what you're expected to do and how you're going to do it. And if you don't, there's repercussions for that in some way, shape, or form. So it's a very structured, you know what time you're going to have your breakfast, your dinner, and your tea, and what time you're going to go and run and
And
go and
I
visit.
just want to say, and those repercussions are not, they are the same for everybody, no matter what they are. There's not some people get let off because they've got special circumstances. It's not a family. It is a very equal and level playing field, isn't it? Everybody gets the same discipline, the same expectations, which is so different to the outside world. Sorry, I just,
Absolutely. No, it's a good point to make because it sets the scene that you know exactly the expectations are unequivocally clear,
yeah,
no questions asked. But still brilliant. I'm not knocking at that.
yeah.
That is brilliant, and that's needed in that kind of organization. There is no other way to be because the ultimate aim of that organization is war, and
Yeah.
in that scenario, of which I've been in three, and in that scenario, you don't want people questioning what you're telling them to do or where to. So there's a reason for it. The rationale is sound. But going back to that fear and trepidation, so on that Friday in July '97, I don't have an army ID card. I am absolutely petrified because of the unknown. But it was it was one of those scenarios where I had confidence in myself and my abilities to be able to go and do what I do, what I needed to do, but it was still a big unknown, and so it was very, very, very scary because I didn't know what was expected of me. So I didn't know how I was going to be expected because the role was very clear. You're no longer a sergeant major. You were on Friday, but you're not now. Yeah, you're not dressed in camouflage. We can see you really clearly now, and you stand out. And if you don't perform, guess what? We know you're not meeting your KPI and your metrics, so we know. So it was scary. Anyway, took to it like a duck to water. Me and my mate, well, we did because of the military attitude and the military training. So we found me and Tony, we um, we found ourselves as he'd been out in the army probably about about a year and a half, 2 years max at this stage. So he was kind of settled into the process and was doing really well. And he had risen above in a nice way the other guys in the team. The team comprised, I think it was about 6 or 7 consultants all over the UK, literally Scotland all the way down to Portsmouth. Tony had sort of nudged forward as this guy gets stuff done. If you need a job doing, why don't you ask Tony? Tony can get it, or he'll have a contact. And then what I then joined, Tony and I knowing each other for many, many years, literally since 1982. We suddenly became that unit, that inseparable unit. And now we had an ally in the camp, as it were, and we really did well, and our KPIs were better. We found we had a knack for consultancy. We could talk to people at any level. That's down to the army. You could be talking to a brigadier or a private soldier. Treat everybody the same and you'll do all right. That's always been my mantra. If I'm talking, even to this day, if I go into any business or anywhere, I will treat the guy who's sweeping the car park with exactly the same respect as the managing director or the global CEO of the organization, always and every time. And that, yeah, because you can't go wrong then, can you?
You can't. And that's, I think that when people talk about, when they describe people, they're usually describing their values, and that's your value of that respect for everybody. And just going back to the army and that mindset that you have, that I think is what people love. It's that kind of, what's the outcome? And that your mind is, because I was married to a pilot in the Air Force, and I kind of have a little inside. I've seen them in action when somebody's life was at risk. You know, climb Kilimanjaro, my friend got malaria and she needed. So I saw them in action, and it's everything into plan A. There's no point talking about plan B. That's a waste of time. That effort could be put into plan A.
Yeah.
And so when I hear you speaking about, I can see why you and Tony did so well, because the mindset is unwavering and
Yeah.
unapologetic about the task. And it's about bringing people along with it. But you are
Yeah.
really clear on the mission, the task, and it's all in on plan A. It's focus and it's alignment. And I can hear it in your voice.
Well, it's so true, and we did that for 3 years, you know. So 97 to 2000, where Tony and I, we very quickly we became not we weren't the leaders of the team, because we had a boss, a brilliant boss. Now, if I can name him, I'll name him now, because he was a wonderful guy, and he still is. Matthew Bates, lovely fella, taught me a lot about the commercial aspect. So you're no longer a squaddy now, Richard. You're not allowed to shout at people. You got, you know, this, that, and the other. There's a more subtle way. Keep your skills that you've got, use them more subtly, think more strategic, really. Get to know people. How to treat people was very much one of Matthew's traits, and I've always stuck with that right to this day. So in the year 2000, and this, you'll know this place because it's not far from where you live. So eventually Tony and I, when we first kicked off, I left the army. I was living in Basingstoke. Tony was in Derby, but eventually we ended up in York running our own business. So we decided that,
You were at
right,
Clifton Moor.
yeah, exactly, yeah, Clifton
Yeah.
Moor, yeah, exactly there. And what we decided in the Lambert Fenchurch days, it's probably worth mentioning. So you know that pub called the Cottage Pub in Haxby, Wigington. So
Yes.
we're in there, right? We're having a Guinness, and I don't drink anymore, by the way, but at the time I did. So we're having a Guinness, and Tony and I, we were talking about this, that, and the other. Yeah, and we got this coming up, and thinking we were really happy. And again, it was really, life was pretty damn good. We had a great job, and they looked after us. We had a good team, and we'd risen up. We had good respect in the team. People would come to us if they had issues or problems. Although we weren't the team leaders, we effectively became so. And we sat in the cottage pub, and Tony went, "Yeah," because I've been thinking. He says, "You know, I mean, you tend to kind of run the team, the show. We organise the events. That even had us recruiting the new guys to the team. Matthew gave us the job of being the recruiters and interviewing the new team members." So he says, "You know, we do all that. We could probably do this for ourselves, couldn't we? And maybe do just as well and possibly even better." And I remember that to this day, Tony gets his little pen out and he's going, "Right, so we'd need this many customers and we'd need to earn this much money." So, "Yeah, I reckon we could do that. What do you reckon, Rich?" "I reckon we could do that." "Good, let's do that then." So we went and handed our notice in. we did exactly that. There's a pattern in there. And we set up that business that you knew as part of on Clifton Moor in York, Corporate Safety Solutions. Tony's
Yeah.
still director of that business to this day.
Hey.
Yeah, he lives down the road from me. We get together fairly regularly and do stuff together still to this day. And yeah, that's what we did. So
Amazing.
so it's again going back to your theme of meant for more. Well, we'd used that 3 years within the insurance company of developing our skills, mainly our people skills and our commercial acumen, if you like, to the point where we thought we are meant for more. We're kind of peaked here now. We've moved up. We didn't run the show, but we were in a position of responsibility with the respect of everybody, up and down. People relied upon us for various things, organising events, doing the recruitment that I just mentioned. So we were meant for more. We progressed to a position where we could now go, what's next? I know what's next. And that's what we did. We set up that business, and we stayed in that business, Corporate Safety Solutions, from the year 2000 until 2008 together. And then we went our separate ways for various reasons. I'd moved further north to the northeast, and we split the customer base, and I took my main clients, Tony kept his main clients, and off we went and did other things. But we still remained friends together, and we still do stuff together to this day.
A nice sense. What I notice in how you're speaking is that backing yourself, that each time you just backed yourself. What does it take for those out there that are thinking of either setting up their own business or going for a different role or getting back into work or expanding their offering? What does it take to back yourself?
It takes a bit of courage, but a bit, but more than courage. So you're going to need the guts to say, right, I'm going to do this, but it can't be blind courage. You have to have thought it through, like we said with that bit of paper in the pub. So we need this many customers and this many days, and that'll give us that. And if we do that, we'll pay our bills and we'll be okay. So you need a plan. You do need a plan,
Mm.
but you still need the courage to make that giant leap of I'm gonna do it. And if you've got that courage, if you've got the courage, if you've made a plan and you've decided, well, that's going to work to the point where you're prepared to make that step, then you've just got to work all out. Stick to your plan. If your plan's robust and your plan's sound, it will work out. And there'll be knocks along the way. And we need this many customers. Some months you won't get it, so you'll have problems and you might struggle. But when that happens, well, that's where your business planning comes in, because you should have thought of that already. Well, what if it doesn't work that way? What else are we going to do? So you need contingency. You can't be just blind, let's go and do it and hope it all works out. You need a plan, and you need to have thought through, what if this plan actually doesn't work? Well, we'll do X, Y, and Z. But you mentioned something about plan B. I actually agree with you there. Don't have too strong a plan B, because you won't be then focused on plan A.
Exactly.
You'll be split between the two. Well, if it all goes wrong, I've always got plan B. Well, you kind of have, but hey, listen, get all your efforts, your energy, and your time, and your networking. That's really important. We maybe come to that, because I know you're a prolific networker as well. Get your networking and everything focused on your plan A, and your plan A will work, and you won't even need your plan B.
Yeah, I have a saying, focus on plan A rather than fail into plan B. And you're right. If you make plan B too appealing, then and it's knowing that difference of, is this fear of A, because it could be fear of I might fail, but also I think people's biggest fear could be I might succeed. And I'm not used to
Yeah,
succeeding at such a level, or what if I lose my friends? If I'm successful, I lose my friends, or what if it means this? But these sit under the bonnet. They're less in our conscious thinking, the more in our unconscious
yeah,
thinking, driving what we do. So
that's
people
true.
sometimes set this amazing goal, running their own business with Tony, but then under the surface, start to shrink it. They start to
They
shrink
do.
it because then they want to shrink it into something that they feel safer in.
Yeah, you've hit it on the head. That's the thing. So I listen to all of your stuff, by the way, Lisa, and I know you often talk about self-limiting beliefs, and it's an easy trap to fall into. I'm not good enough. Oh, I can't do that. I've never done that before, and you can talk yourself into failure really, really easy, and you don't feel comfy, and well, you're not meant to feel comfy, because if you're not being challenged, you just sat around doing what you've always done, and that's going to get you what you've always got. Nothing's going to change, is it? So comfy is not a nice place to be. Challenge and risk, calculated, admittedly, not reckless. You can't be
Well,
reckless.
you couldn't ever be promoting reckless risk, could you, in the
No,
expertise that you're in? But
no.
there's a saying, isn't there, that comfort is the enemy of growth.
Yeah, it's very true.
And I wonder if it's comfort or familiarity. So when I'm doing my empowerment exercises, they're always there to teach our mind another way of seeing something, or recognize, bringing it into consciousness. So when you were going from leaving the army to then going to work for that first company,
Yeah,
that's the equivalent to the fire walk. And then what
yeah,
goes on when you've signed up to do the fire walk, and then when the fire walk comes on, is people's mind
yeah.
goes, I'm doing it, I'm not doing it, I can get out of it, I'll break my leg, I'll pray for rain. Their mind is going backwards and forwards. It's like a seesaw, backwards and forwards all the time, about whether they're going to do it or not, how they can get out of it, or yes, I am going to do it, even on the night. But when it comes to doing some of the other exercises that we do, such as the arrow break with our throat, people will always try, and they'll do things like they'll try pushing their throat. And I'll say, why are you trying to recreate something that you don't know? And then you're going to make a decision based on something that's not the same, that's based on an assumption. And they'll say, well, it hurts. And I say, does it hurt or does it feel unfamiliar? Because whatever label we give something will determine how we feel about it, and then what action we take. Like, oh yeah, it's just
That's
unfamiliar. And so what else in your life is unfamiliar that you're putting down as not right, or fear, or change, or
you make some great points, and I've watched your firewalks, and I've watched those things on the nets, and it's such a great point to make, because when you're in your comfort zone, I actually think you're in the danger zone, because often in business, your comfort zone is reliant on other people's activities and actions, and you have no control over those. So to me, that's a danger zone, because if I'm comfortable because I've got this client, that client, and the other client, life's peachy, and oh, isn't this nice? And then one day their business gets sold, or they go bankrupt, or suddenly your comfort zone is ripped from under your feet, and now you're in a real danger zone. So anyone who's in a comfortable position, I would say, have a look at how comfortable it is. And if it's comfortable because of your own control and direction, then that's true comfort. But if it relies on any external factors that you don't control, that's not comfort. That's dangerous. But
probably complacency as well. Comfort allows complacency, and actually that feeling of being able to sleepwalk through life. So many of us I enjoy sleepwalking, where we don't have to think too much. We're just on autopilot. And it's another way of us numbing ourselves out these days. Whereas when we come to set up our own business or change our job, it really requires us to be awake in our consciousness. And that can give us, that can exhaust us, but it's
I think but you've got to embrace that, embrace the risk, plan the risk, embrace the change, and really have faith in yourself. Step out of that comfort zone. And it's good. I think it's good to be a little bit uncomfortable. It will give you that edge. It will give you that hunger to keep moving forward and striving for whatever it is you might need to go towards. But it will make you do the hard work along the way, because nothing's easy. Nothing comes easy. You only get stuff if you plan for it, and then you work hard. You look at all those big gurus. Look at your Bransons and your Bezos and all those. Those guys haven't just landed there by default. They have worked absolutely tirelessly, and then brought in the other people who can do the stuff that they can't do, because you can't do everything, obviously. But it's great. It's hard. It's having a plan, having direction, and going for it. But it doesn't always work out, though, does it? So can I tell you a little story about? I thought, oh, this will be a good idea, and then it wasn't. It was awful, and it went horrifically wrong twice.
Oh, we definitely want to hear that.
That business that Tony and I ran for a while, when we went our separate ways, Tony carried on running corporate safety. I set up another little bit in York, again, at the start, another little business called Safety Compliance Services. 1 year in, I got bought out by a very large, well-known UK health and safety and risk management and insurance company. And they bought my client base. I'd won a huge contract with a care home company, 300 care homes that we were auditing, me and a little team of people. Anyway, we got purchased. And at the back end of 2010, I found myself with not a lot to do, because I didn't have a company anymore. So I was in between things, and an opportunity came up that, again, I took it, and this was to move to New Zealand. So again, the theme is here. It's an old army mate of mine. He's still in New Zealand now. He was the best man at my wedding. I was the best man at his wedding. Anyway, we were chatting away on this particular day. I didn't have a job. I didn't have a company. And he said, well, what are you going to do now then? And I said, I have no idea. I haven't really thought about it yet. He goes, well, why don't you have my job? He was in New Zealand as the regulatory manager in local government at Ashburton District Council on the South Island, and he just got himself a new job at Tasman, a little bit further north. He goes, you should go for my job because I'll get you an interview. See the pattern that's occurring here. Got me an interview, did this interview over Skype, and they offered me the job. So they said, right, so this back end of 2010, right, so yeah, we'll let you be our new regulatory manager, but you need to be here in New Zealand, ready to work by April 2011. Is that enough time? Yeah. I didn't have a clue. I didn't know if that was enough time. I went, yeah, that's plenty of time. I had to get all my medicals and new police checks and all that kind of stuff. So that's this is now my plan. Oh, this is going to be exciting. We're going to go to New Zealand. Yeah, can't wait. In February of 2011, you recall that huge earthquake that kicked off in Christchurch. Christchurch is 40 minutes north of Ashburton, by the way. We're about to go and live. So I've already got trepidation and fear now. But anyway, the tickets are bought, so we might as well go. I'd passed my police checks. Medical was all right. Off we went. So we went to New Zealand thinking this new life's going to be peachy and awesome. And it wasn't. It wasn't peachy and awesome. It was, I had a nice job. Life was okay. But okay is not good enough. Okay ain't going to cut the mustard. So 2.5 years later, came home.
Why was it just okay? What was it what ingredients did it not have that you need to stimulate you or to make you happy?
Me and my family, and distance from everybody you've ever known in your life and loved. Really? And who you see on the weekend and who you go to football with and parties with and go for a pint with, suddenly gone. You got it all over there, but it's different. And you know, the country is beautiful, the people are beautiful, but it wasn't for us. Didn't fit our sort of model of life and operating. One of my boys was born out there, by the way. My youngest son Adam was born in Ashburton Hospital. You didn't get dual nationality. That all changed quite a few years ago. So that's one of those things again where, again, it's on the theme, isn't it? Made for more. It ain't always going to be how you think it is, but then that then leads you to think, so okay, well, so what? So it hasn't worked out, so now what? Well, you got to be resilient and think, I'm going to have to do something else. Well, that's what we did.
And how was it moving back then?
It's all right.
Did you keep your house? Did you rent your house?
Yeah, it had been rented out, and so it wasn't traumatic. It was a lot to do. It was busy. There was, bringing a family back from New Zealand.
Yeah.
But we did fly Emirates, so that was good. That's really good. Emirates, I love that. Honestly, they're just fantastic. Yeah, so we came back. But I mentioned a minute ago, there was two of these events that went horribly pear-shaped. So this is really weird, actually. So we're now back in the UK, and I'm kind of fishing around for what I'm going to do. I got an opportunity from a friend of mine called Paul Mewett. He said, well, while you're doing nothing, why don't you come and help us out? We need a teacher in Nigeria, in Lagos. Yeah, all right then. I'll do that for a bit. Went out and did a bit of health and safety teaching in Lagos, in Nigeria, in Ikeja. That was awesome. Absolutely awesome. Did that for a little while. And then another friend of mine, ex-army guy called Richie O'Neill, he gets in touch and he goes, we've got a project coming up. This time it's in Liberia. So if you think about the timelines are really important now, it's about 2013 or so. Liberia, it's dead easy. It's a great job. We go to Africa, fly over into Monrovia, and then you jump in the vehicle. Off you go up to this place called Yakepi, and we're the safety guys, but we'll do a rulement because I'll be out there for 5 or 6 weeks, and then I'll go home, and then you come out, and that's good. It was for a company called ThyssenKrupp, big German industrial company. And this looks wow. And it was a wow job. The pay was unbelievable. And the perks were like, wow, this was going to change my life financially forever. So we thought, going back to resilience in a minute. So did a bit of thinking, right? So my in-laws live in France. So, and that's where they retired when they left here in Newcastle. They went to France, lived, and still there now. So we thought, right, so I'm going to have to fly to Monrovia every now and then. Why don't we go and live in France for the duration of this project? That's what we did. So we went rented a property in a beautiful place called Belle Arbor. It's in the Indre, Department 36 in France, about, I don't know, say 3 hours on a train south of Paris, countryside, beautiful. Wow. And the plan is we're now there. I've got this job with ThyssenKrupp, and I'm going to be going to Monrovia and coming back because the job didn't require us to be. We could have been anywhere. Could have lived in Moscow. Could have lived in Amsterdam. We said, let's go and make an adventure of this. Went to France, rented this house of Jean-Claude, wonderful guy, and 20 minutes from my mother and father-in-law. So we were in Belle Arbor. They live, and they still do, in Lignac. And then this thing started happening in the world. So I'm due to go out in the September of 2013. This new disease in Africa, it was called the Ebola virus, starts to kick. And we're like, oh, that's where I'm going. Except, oh, this is getting a bit scary.
Bit risky.
Ooh, was it? Anyway, so now my risk antenna is Richie's out there, by the way. He's there. He's on site. He's doing his safety stuff. And the plan is in September, I think this was about May, June or whatever. Plan is I'll be going out for my first 6-week stint in the September time. Ebola starts spreading. Hundreds of people start dying. The world in the African world starting to close down. It's getting more and more dangerous. Now, I was on a retainer at the time, so I was getting paid so many euros to sit in France and have barbecues waiting for my turn to go out and do the rulement with Richie. So there was no financial issues at this stage. But then it got worse and it got worse and it got worse. And now I'm starting to panic a little bit. And then my fear came to fruition when they did Project Stop, which is what we'd been scared about right from the get-go as we started to hear about Ebola. What Project Stop meant was all your contracts are cancelled and you no longer work for ThyssenKrupp. See ya. Oh, here's where resilience comes in. So now you find, this is me, now you find yourself in France, in a rented property, with a family and no job, no income. It's like, oh, this is a bit scary. what are we going to do now then? Wow, that's where your resilience really kicks in. Do you want to know what I did? By the way?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, so I thought, right, what's my immediate problem? Your immediate problem is you live in France, in someone else's house, with 2 children. Remember, the one was born in New Zealand. We actually took one out with us. It was ours. We took another one, someone else's random kid we took with us. So we've now got 2 kids, unemployed, in France. Now, I speak quite good French, by the way, but I'm not fluent. And there's no way in the world I could ever get a job in technical risk management and safety in France. Never. I might have got a job maybe washing coffee cups in the local cafe or something. So I needed a job, and it was a really scary time in my life. So what I did, I started fishing around, and I saw a job advertised. This is going to sound crazy, but it's true. I saw this job advertised in Loughborough, near Leicester.
Yeah. At
Charnwood Borough Council, and they were looking for an interim health and safety manager. And I thought, hang on, I got onto Google. I'm looking at the maps. So we weren't a million miles. So we were in Belle Arbor, and our local airport was Limoges, and that was about 40 minutes away. And there was 2 flights from Limoges into the East Midlands airport. I thought, oh, that could be quite good. So yeah, let's have a look at that then. Checked out the job. Sent my CV in, and they went, we'll interview you. Over you come. So off I went down to Limoges on whatever the day was, and then went to Charnwood Borough Council, got interviewed, and they went, yeah, we like you. You can have the job. I went, oh, okay. Oh, I've got a job. Excellent. I'm now employed. I've got to go back to France. Oh, by the way, I've got nowhere to live in England, in Loughborough either. So I then had this frantic period of my life where I had to sort loads of stuff out. But fast forward to the start of 2014, Ebola is now a long distant memory. I don't care about that anymore. That's something I've learned along the way, Lisa. Get the past out of my life. You can't change it. You can't alter it. It's wasting your time if you're thinking about it. You can't do anything about stuff that's happened. Deal with the stuff that you can control. I'll mention another guy if I may talk about stoicism shortly, but back to where I was. So I then
I
go.
love that though. That is a real kind of full stop exclamation mark. Get the past out of your life.
Oh,
You can't
absolutely.
change it.
Uh,
Um,
so many people live in that zone that's irrelevant. Oh, but you did that, but you said that, and then, so what? You're gone. Forget it. What are you going to do tomorrow? What are you going to say tomorrow? You got to be looking forward, and I think it's so important to have your mind. We talked about mindset, haven't we, quite a bit, and thinking forward and planning and maybe taking a bit of risk. And one of the key aspects that will allow you to do that, as you know far better than I, is forget anything that's gone. You're wasting all the effort that people spend whinging about stuff that's gone wrong in the past. And if only should have done this, woulda, shoulda, coulda. Judge Judy said, shoulda, woulda, coulda. Wasting your
Judge
time.
Judy, the mentor that is. I am. Do you think how much of the army? Because that's a real. I think that's a real kind of. I hear quite a lot of army framework in your mind, like
Yeah,
what's my immediate need, or what's my immediate risk, what's my immediate threat,
hit it on the
and
head.
it's all about
Yeah,
resourceful thinking, is it? What am
yeah,
I need right now, and
yeah.
what's the quickest route to it? How much of the army do you think, which is that, and the way that they teach you to think and be, which is very present, isn't it? Unless you're collecting, like, where can we improve what we did yesterday and put it into tomorrow? How much of it is down, would you say, has helped you be the success you are?
1,000%, 1,000%, no question about it. So you joined the army as I did, young kid, 16 years old. You didn't really know what's going on in the world. You're almost fresh out of school. You're a baby, and then you spend your formative life learning discipline, procedure, trust, teamwork, thinking of others. That's the key thing. So within the military ethos isn't about you, the individual. The military ethos is about your team and the people who ultimately will keep you alive in the event of you have to do what you've signed up to do. So that's really important. So that will stick with you for the rest of your life. So anyone who's gone through the military training, it's not for everyone. Loads of people fall along the way, and people get in trouble and get kicked out, or they commit crimes because the army is not all brilliant. The army it's a cross section of society. So in there, you've got everything you find in any city in the world. You've got criminals, naughty people, all of those. But those that stay and do well in the military, they at some point they will leave. That's the one thing that's a guarantee. You join the army, and at some point you're going to go out. And if you've done okay in the military, Army, Navy, or Air Force, I think you're going to kind of do okay in whatever you do, because you'll have a set of values and a set of attitudes that aren't all about you. They're about the bigger picture and other people, and that's really important. It's to know that it's about other people as well. Ultimately, that helps you, because if you've got a great team, you've got people who rely on you, trust you, respect you. Well, they'll go out of their way to do stuff for you, and it's everyone does well, really. So the army, going back to your direct question, is 100 to 1,000% instrumental in everything I have done since. No question about it. Mission
I,
focused.
I just, yeah, mission focus, and I can just really, I mean, and I know you love doing what you do now, but I also think there's a talk in there about those learnings from the army, and how if we applied it to today's business leadership and teamwork, would, I mean, I think we'd all benefit from a year's military training.
Well, I know someone. If you want to go in for a bit, I can get get you a spot.
Are they taking 55-year-old 5'1" women?
Oh, I'd have to double check on that.
Yeah, I think they're probably not. Please tell me they're not.
They're not.
But but I think I, I think we could. I think 16-year-olds would ultimately, their future self would be so grateful to their 16-year-old version self going through military training for a year or 2 years.
A lot of them would. A lot of them would hate it. A lot of them
Well, they
wouldn't.
definitely.
A lot wouldn't thank you because they have to tidy the room,
Exactly.
make your bed.
Imagine not being able to be on your phone if you want to distract yourself.
Yeah,
Or
exactly. Yeah,
I think the world needs it. It's just I suppose I'm an old-fashioned girl, but I see um so many people searching for comfort, and that's not bad. It's just you have to make sure you search for it in the right places at the right times. Looking at not being so many people are frightened of their own power. So when or they want to normalize things because they're not used to their potential. And
yeah.
yes, so I think there's a talk in there. And I think, and are you, I do want to know two things as well. And I'm
Yeah,
being a bit Tourette'sy, bear with
that's
me.
cool. No, whatever. Yeah.
Um, yeah, have you done a talk? Have you created a talk? Because if we watch this back, there is a brilliant talk in it.
Well, I haven't done a talk as such on those lines. I do a lot of talking and I do a lot of teaching.
Yeah,
I have an online school, and so I love this kind of thing, and because I've learned a lot of things along the way, and it hasn't always been easy. It's quite the opposite. Those times that we're talking about there, the bit in France, the New Zealand, and there's been some really, really tough times. But I think what I've kind of learned along the way is that expect bumps in the road and just roll with the punches. I mean, I was going to mention this stoicism thing, and this has helped me a lot. I'm part of a very large military network on LinkedIn, and it's called the Gen Dit Network. And there's a guy in there. His name's Chris Kirk. He's an ex-Royal Marine Commando. He's a lovely fella. I've met him a couple of times within that network on a face-to-face basis on events that we run in Bristol. Last one we did in Bristol. It's not my event. Sorry, that came across wrong. The event that they run that I attend, last one, face-to-face networking event, 600 people.
ooh,
Bristol football stadiums. Another one coming up next year in March. It'll be even bigger. It's huge. But this fella, Chris, right, he's into stoicism and he's used it throughout his military career. And I've been studying this quite a lot of late. I'm no expert by far, but the principle of getting your own lane and don't worry about what other people think about you, because you can't influence it and control it to an extent. Just be you. If you just be yourself and be nice and do whatever you're going to do, people can think what they like. They might love it or they might hate it, but it doesn't matter because you're being your authentic self. So just be you. He says, keep in your own lane. He actually doesn't use these words. He uses stronger words. And don't really care too much about what other people think about you. And that will stand you in very, very good stead because it allows you to get all of the noise out of your life and focus where you're going on what's really important. Forget what's behind you, forget the noise around you, and just focus on where you're going. And you'll probably have a better chance of getting there.
it's perfect. It's kind of what I teach in my workshops that I do in companies. Is so often people are seeking acceptance or validation or
Yeah,
wanting to be the same as the people next to them. And what I teach in there is that they can't chat to each other because they've got to be really focused. And usually when there's a firewalk or an arrow break, or they know they're in a different environment that needs all of their focus. So I help
yeah,
them have an experience for 8 hours where they're practicing the way I want them to consider thing. I'm not just talking to them about it, they're actually in the experience of being able to muscle memory recall,
yeah.
what it's like to be totally focused and in the now. And there isn't time to worry about what other people think.
That's really
Um,
important point.
yeah,
Yeah,
there's not enough
I've watched them.
experiences. Yeah,
I've watched them. So the ones that you do, I've watched. As I said before, I've seen them, and you can see the initial fear on people's faces, and then they get in that mindset. The decision's been made. I'm gonna walk across the fire, or I'm going to snap the stick on my neck, or whatever it might be. And at that point, that's where they're stepping into that unknown zone. But the second they've done it, well, I think I've seen people burst out crying
Oh,
on some of
absolutely.
your. It's like, wow, I've done it. Wow, look how good I am, and that will give them that belief that you advocate. You know, that self-belief, and you can do it. And I
Yeah.
think that resonates throughout life. You can do it, but
It's what
you've
you're
got to
telling
convince.
yourself.
Yeah, you've got to convince yourself you
Yeah.
can do it.
And what I bring
Yeah,
to any business or workshop room is I bring the external stuff to a head, the stuff that people are having to overcome, the stuff that people are moving through in their own mind. I bring it so it's live in the room and their mind has a model, you know, and it's teaching commitment, discipline, focus, containment, contain yourself, and
yeah.
noticing when do you start numbing yourself out and when do you start infecting people around you. So I love it what your I've forgotten his name, the stoicism chap.
Chris Kirk.
Chris, I love what Chris says. Stay in your lane. Don't worry about what other
Yeah,
people think, because what
yeah,
other people think about you is what they think about themselves.
yeah,
So it's
exactly.
actually never about you. You're just the valve that it's been released through.
It's
And it
true. Yeah.
so the and also the things that I've noticed in what you've said is you are, because you're so in the now, you're so in the resourceful space of thinking and being and action, that you are so flexible, but you've also got self-trust and you back yourself. So
Yeah, got to.
you said something about you don't drink anymore.
No, I don't know.
And so what, if I may, I mean, I'm
Right.
16, I call it 16 years sober. Um, what was
Ah,
your reason for not drinking, and
interesting. I'm
how
glad
is
you
life?
mentioned that. Well, this is all linked in. So it goes back to this fella, Chris Kirk, actually. So the first networking event in the Gen D was a couple of years ago. That was the first one actually at the Bristol Football Stadium. We all pitched up, say hundreds of people. It was brilliant. What a fan! It was really good. Loads of light. Let's come back to the agenda and mention what that's about, because it's really important actually.
Please.
And anyway, so I'm down at this event, at a fantastic event, all these workshops and people getting helped with housing, mental health issues, job searching, CVs, you name it. It's all about helping people who need help and signposting. That all finished. That was a brilliant day. And then we all go down a pub, go to the Wetherspoons. And I'm drinking my Guinness and I'm getting a little bit tipsy, and everyone's getting tipsy, but not Chris Kirk. And my brain collared that. But he was still having a great time. He was still yakking away. And later on in the evening, we're all drunk, but not Chris Kirk. But he's still having a great time. And I'd noticed, I thought, that's really weird. He's an ex-commander, a bootneck, a Royal Marine commando. And he's sitting there with his flipping orange juice and a little umbrella in it or whatever. We didn't have an umbrella in it, but
Not in Weatherspoons, it didn't.
and that just struck me as quite odd. Anyway, I remember a little while later, I didn't say anything at all, but it had been logged in my memory bank there. And a little while later, we're having some kind of conversation via LinkedIn, and I mentioned it in a message. Oh, I noticed you weren't drinking. I never drink. Never seen the point of it. And that really got me interested. I thought, hang on a minute. There's a roughy toughy commando there, and he doesn't drink, and he's really got his act together. He's the one who's like capable at the end of the night. He knows how to get a taxi. He's first up in the morning, and all. I thought that's quite. Anyway, so I started reading. But now I was drinking quite a bit. I used to love my Guinness and red wine. You know, oh, I love it. I was professional drinker for 40 years, Lisa, I'm telling you. And I was good. I should have got a medal. Instead, I got a headache and big fat sheets. Anyway, I started reading loads of literature, quit lit, as they call it. And I started following people on podcasts, and I really started getting an interest in it. I thought, oh, there's something in this. So with my life, regular drinking, and I mean regular, every night I'd have a glass of wine or two, and at the weekends I'd have a good old skinful of Guinness. So I really got thinking about how am I present, how am I showing up for the world with my family and my business. And the truth of the matter was, I was showing up tired, bloated, and not really on top of my game. That was the truth of the matter. And so I thought, well, you're nearly 60 now, and if you can't, in fact, funny, I'm 59 in 2 weeks' time. So, but I'm nearly 60. That's all I think. I'll get me on my pension when I'm 60. So I've got something to look forward to. So I'm thinking to myself, you're nearly 60 now. So you can carry on having a couple of glasses of wine a night and plenty of Guinness at the weekend. And the outcome ain't going to be you're going to wake up with a six pack and a 10-minute run. Or the outcome is you're going to get bigger and bigger and bigger and lazier and lazier. And you might have a heart attack. Oh, right. So I had some really serious talking to myself. So I decided, right, well, why don't you stop drinking for a little while and see how you feel? And so I did that. Let me go to, while we're talking, I'm going to go to I've got an app on my phone, by the way.
Yeah.
And so I started just to see how I would feel by not drinking. So in the first week, I felt awful. I couldn't sleep. I had night sweats, and I thought, "Oh, this is horrendous. I'm even more tired now, and I haven't even got a hangover." So it was horrible. And I get to the end of the month, and I'm starting to feel. There was an epiphany. I woke up one morning and I went, "Wow." Well, you probably know because you. I went, "That's what it's like to sleep properly." Then. I'd had the sleep of a baby. And I woke up and I felt so fresh and energized. I thought, wow, this is nice. So I kept it going. And then I started exercising. And then real change in my life started to happen. I found on a Saturday, instead of wanting to do this, that, and the other, and go and have a couple of pints in my club, I'd be playing basketball with my boy Lewis, or we'd be off 11 near a beach. I could be down the beach. We could be kicking a ball. These little things that I now realize I've been missing out on because I was drinking were starting to come into my life, and I was starting to lose loads of weight. I've lost 2 stone, by the way, over the period of time, and my fitness levels have gone up, and the energy that it's given me is just unbelievable, to the point where next week I launch another business next week. We can maybe mention that at the end. It's not about that though, but
Tell me, what is the business?
Well, I don't want to turn this. I'm really enjoying this. I'll mention it. I'll mention the name and we'll leave it there. It's called mediczone.co.uk. But I don't want this to be about. I want this to be about your theme of change and being.
But it sounds to me like having creating another business is all part of you always looking at how you can improve more, how you can adapt more. But right, back to then your energy, because I totally relate to all of it.
But I'm so glad you mentioned the non-drinking thing, because again, it's one of those. It has been one of those meant for more moments. I didn't know it at the time. I was just going to stop for a few weeks, a month, to see how I feel. Well, and now I will show you my app. This is the app that I use here. It's called I Am Sober.
Oh,
and what you do, it's free, by the way. There is a paid version, but I've never paid for it. And so it sends me it goes ping, and I go, oh, I Am Sober wants to have a look at me. So I open it up and it says to me, Richard, you have been alcohol-free for 1 year, 3 months, 26 days, 4 hours, 1 minute and 26 seconds, or 27 seconds, or 28 seconds. That bit keeps changing, as you would expect. But then you press another button and it says, oh, guess what? You also haven't spent £4,840 on beer. That's just the beer, not the taxis and the kebabs. But this is the other bit. This is why it's life-changing when you stop drinking. It tells me, Richard, you also haven't sat there drinking Guinness for 2,420 hours. That's 3 months of time not sat guzzling beer. That's 3 months of starting a new business.
It's
going
three
to play
months of
football,
being with Lewis. It's 3 months
to
of
play
being with your
football or
family.
basketball,
Yeah.
or decorating, or doing your gardening, or waking up thinking, wow, I feel really fresh today.
Yeah.
Shall we go? Let's go to the Lake District. Yeah, come on, jump. The other thing is you can always drive, as you know, you can always,
Yes.
don't you, any time of the day or night. This came to fruition when Lewis's chain came off his bike and he wasn't that close. On a Saturday, he wasn't that close to home. Now, normally, he wouldn't have even phoned me because he knew I'd be having a Guinness. So
Yeah.
Dad, my chain's come off. I'm on my way. Where are you? Brilliant.
Freedom. I tell you, one of
Oh,
the
man.
things that because I
Well, I'm
would
interested in you now, Lisa.
I well,
Tell me
I
that.
would drink every night, and it became a
Yeah.
norm that 7 o'clock I would make sure I had 2 bottles of wine in the fridge. One I would definitely drink, and just in case, and I wasn't,
I
and
know what you're
I would
saying.
never put my
Yeah.
glass down because I had two
Yeah.
retrievers, so that is probably why I would never put my glass
Yeah.
down.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and what I was doing my first ever motivational talk in 2008. And I thought, I don't feel confident. So I went on a detox for a month to lose weight so that I
Yeah.
felt like I would be. And with that, the detox was cutting out salt, sugar, wheat, dairy, eggs,
Yeah.
potatoes, caffeine, and alcohol. And at the end of the month, I thought, for as long as I don't miss it, I'm not going to drink it. And that was just my rule. If I don't miss it, I'm not going to drink it. But I'm going to be like really clear with myself about, am I missing it or not? Or is it the alcohol I'm missing, or is it the socializing I'm missing? But like you said, that waking up feeling fresh, I didn't know that that kind of wake up
I didn't.
existed.
I know it's like, oh, that's weird.
And sleeping through the night, like you say, and yeah, and the energy for the next day and the focus. But what I love the most is I love my freedom.
Yeah.
And so that freedom of being able to jump in a car anytime for
Yeah.
anyone, or if I'm going to a black tie dinner, I can say to my friends, I'll pick you up and then I will drop you off. Oh, you can't drop us off. It's too many of us. No, that's the perk. For me,
Do a
that's
couple of
the
runs.
perk.
Do what
Yeah.
you want
Yeah.
whenever you want. I don't know if you noticed that. The other thing I've noticed, this is me. It's given me clarity and consistency. So that's the key thing. So if I think back to when I was having my Guinness and all the rest of it, I didn't know if I was going to wake up in the morning grumpy, tired, slovenly. I know how I'm going to wake up now, full of beans, rearing to go. I know what I'm doing the next day, and I know I'm going to do it. I've got clarity and consistency, and that's all because of not drinking. I'd advocate it for anybody, but it comes with some funny things, doesn't it? So I still go to my club. They've now got alcohol-free Guinness, 0% Guinness in there for me, and guess what? Loads of other people drink it as well.
Oh, I love
It's
that. I
it's
love
amazing, and how other people react to when you start drinking it is fascinating to me. Fascinating. And and I had a conversation. I'm not going to name the firm. I had a conversation with an associate. He also runs a company like mine, a safety company. And we're chatting away yesterday. Oh, yeah. We maybe get together for a beer. And I said, I don't drink anymore. And there was like this silence. Oh, he's ex-military as well. That's a bit weird. Oh, it's not weird. It's brilliant. He goes, oh, never. No. And I did the same thing I've just done. You got my app out. And he used my old joke of seconds changing. Blah, blah. That'll never get old. He couldn't get his head around it. But he then did what everybody does. They then tell you how much they don't drink, how they haven't got a problem with drinking. Oh, and I said to him, oh, no, I didn't ask you.
Yeah.
I'm not interested. I don't care how much you drink. It's not to do with me. You
Yeah.
go fill your boots. I don't care. It's not my problem or issue, and I'm not that interested in your drinking habits. But if they want to tell you how it's very fascinating.
Oh, it is all that people think that people instantly think that I must have had a problem. Now, maybe I did, maybe I didn't. I didn't stop because I had a problem. I stopped.
Same.
Life gave me the opportunity and I ran with it because
You
in my
did.
family,
Yeah.
my mum was an alcoholic, my stepmom's an alcoholic, my dad, my stepsister, my sister. And I had this opportunity where I wasn't missing it. I thought life does not happen like this, does not happen like this. I'm a lucky girl that I am not
Yeah.
struggling every day not to have a drink. And so, but then the other thing is didn't get invited out in the same way as I used to get
Yeah.
invited out. My life is much cleaner. I'm not destructive because I had a
Yeah.
destructive aspect to my nature because of my upbringing and my
Yeah.
programming. And I've got a much more peaceful, calm, and quiet life. And I love your app, because what your app is reminding you all the time is this is how much value not drinking is worth. So if you
It
think about
does.
drinking, this is what's in
Yeah.
jeopardy. Or
That's
you
very
can,
true.
it's not that you can't, but you can. And I do think it's interesting when people are like, oh, you're not drinking, well, I won't. Or um,
Yeah.
or the other thing is they say, oh, well, I don't want to tempt you. And I actually get, and I'm going to be honest, I get really annoyed when people think that what they do will influence me.
I know exactly. It's right. It's mad. Mental.
First of all, what you swallow has no impact on me. And secondly, I've got my own reason, my own purpose, and my own value around it that you couldn't possibly make a difference to me.
Exactly, and it's just going back to what I mentioned earlier. It's just being in your own lane, and it doesn't. People. I don't mind. People drink. It doesn't bother me. People get absolutely wasted. It doesn't bother me because it's not my business. I don't. It's not that I don't care about people. I don't. I'm going to
You
that
don't
theme.
impose.
Exactly that theme of, look, whatever you're doing, I don't control what you do, think, or feel. So therefore, I'm not really going to let it get any space. It's not living rent free in my head what you do. So it's irrelevant. I'll just get on with my own stuff and do what I need to do. And I think that's the way to look at it. But I'm so glad I did it. The real, I have a funny feeling I will never drink again in my entire life. And the reason I know this to be a fact is because I've been through, as you have, we've been through those key milestones that typically we would associate with drinking alcohol, probably to excess. So I packed in the June. In the August, guess what? Holiday in France. Or before that was red wine, cheese, and beer time. That was really difficult, but I won't lie to you, that was really, really tough. I nearly came close, but I thought I learned to play it forward. Yeah, okay, so you can have a glass of wine. What's the benefit of that? And how are you going to feel tomorrow? And more importantly, you're going to have to set your app back to zero. You're going to have to start all over again. Imagine that now, all those thousands of hours and calories. The thought of it, I didn't mention the calories. You're not going to believe this, right? Guess I'm 968,000 calories that I haven't stuck in me what used to be my fat face.
Do you know
Drinking
that app
this.
is so powerful? It's, you know, what we all need more of is consciousness, isn't it? We all need to be more conscious
Yeah.
instead of just letting our mind unconsciously take us in old patterns. And so what that app is brilliant for is just bringing to consciousness. You can, it doesn't take away your choice. It just makes you conscious about your choice. And that idea of, I don't want to reset my app to zero. I don't want,
Exactly that.
and the other thing is, for me, I think of, will I find it as easy not to miss it if I drink this now? And is it worth it?
No, it's
Is
not
it
exactly.
worth it? Or is
If
it
what
just going to be comfortable?
well, on that subject, there's some brilliant podcasts. The one, it's Claire Pooley, and remember the girl called Janie Lee Grace.
Yes, Janie Lee.
Yeah.
I've asked to
So,
be on her podcast, actually.
oh, well,
She's
she's
come,
brilliant.
she's come back to me and said, yes, I just need to book you in.
Do it. Get on there. She says some wonder. I listened to her podcast. Or she's done loads of books as well. I didn't realize until I started following her on
The Sober
social.
Club.
Yeah, Sober Club. Yeah, she was a backing singer in Wham.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and then obviously she was on the Steve Wright in the Afternoon show for all them years as well. It was when I was listening to one of her podcasts, I was thinking, why do I know that voice? That voice sounds so familiar. So then one day she said, "Oh yeah, but when we did the Steve, now that's it." She was on the fun facts or factoids, whatever they were called.
Yes, yeah.
But she always says on some of her stuff that just because you stop drinking, life doesn't really. Well, it does change. It gets better. But going out with your friends, just carry on doing what you're doing. Don't change the recipe. Just change the ingredient.
Yes, that's a brilliant
Take away
thing.
take away the booze and put in a 0% Guinness or a whatever, and you still have the same amount of fun, but it's even more fun. It's just so much more fun. So I know now, and I still go and drop in the club, not that often, I must add. Normally out doing something more productive with my time now. But when I do pop in there, it's probably going to make me sound like a conceited bozo, but it's true. So I'm going to say it. As I'm entering the door, I know where they're going to be, and I know who's going to be hungover and drunk, talking the same stuff they were talking last Saturday. So I'll pop in and say hi and have a little chat, and then I get abuse from one of the guys. I won't name him. I won't even name what he does because everyone will know who it is. Oh, are you still not drinking? You're no fun. I said, you've never been fun. You're not fun. I said, you've never been fun, sober or drunk. At least I've got a fighting chance because I can drive home afterwards to get away from you.
And that's what I love as well, is that being able to leave somewhere anytime you like, and everything. The world everything's much freer, isn't it? But
it's true.
One of the things I used to do for years, and I've stopped doing it now, is saying to people and say, we'll go for a glass of wine, instead of just saying, yes, that'd be lovely, and then ordering something that I want when I'm there. I used to say, oh, I don't drink, which meant that they stopped inviting me because I don't drink.
Right. Yeah.
So now I think everybody knows I don't drink because I bloody told them. But
you get used to it after a while, and it's interesting that your groups. I've noticed this. So the people that you used to, and this is me I'm talking about, the people that I used to be surrounded with and associated with has changed. And your true friends, they're around. What's the saying? Those that matter don't mind, and those that mind don't matter.
Oh, it's so true.
Exactly. So I find myself operating in a different way now. But boy, oh boy, it's so much better. I
remember when I was at, and this is for anybody that's thinking that they might want to stop, I guess. So I was away on holiday. It was more of it was at Juicy Mountain, which is a juicing retreat. And so everybody had gone. They were like saying, oh, I can't wait to have a glass of wine. And somebody else was saying, oh, I might try and give it up for a month. And I would say, well, I've done it and it's easy. What they would then do that I think would trip them up is they start thinking, well, I've got to drink because I'm at that wedding, or I'm going to that and I can't imagine not drinking. That'll be really hard. So they started future projecting difficulty.
Setting the failure. It's that mindset again, isn't it?
Instead of just thinking, I'm just going to be in the now. I'm just going to go and be in the now. And you can only ever make a decision in the moment. You can't make a decision in advance, because I'm a big believer in checking in with yourself and thinking, does this still feel right for me? What do I want? Oh, darling, we could talk, and I think we should do.
I've enjoyed that.
An episode 2, and I think we will focus on episode 2 on mindset.
Absolutely.
Creating a meant for more future-proof mindset, because I love your disciplines around the mind and how you use it as a natural default. Is there anything that we've not mentioned that you hope that we would?
Well, I think there's a couple of things if there's time for it, and this is not promoting anything that I do business-wise, but I think it's important that so military stuff, obviously close to my heart, always has been, and I've remained involved, but in a helping out capacity. So I mentioned right at the get-go, it's all about people, it's all about teams, and if you do lots for others, you find you get it back tenfold in a way, and that in many, many different ways. So a couple of things that I currently do with a good friend of mine, Darren Sutton. We organise a dinner, a Royal Army Medical Corps reunited dinner every 2 years. We did one this year in Coventry. We're already planning for 2026 back at the same place, Britannia Hotel in Coventry. And that was born out of a guy dying, a guy called Mick McCran, rest in peace. Lovely, lovely fella. He used to run all the dinners, and he became known as the man to go. So if you wanted to know, where do you remember Johnny from 3 Armoured Field Ambulance? Where's he now? Mick would go, he lives at, and he'd know his address, phone number, national insurance number, his wife's name, what size shoes she's got on. He doesn't, Mr. RAMC knew everything, but he died, and so there was this big void. And so Daz and I took over the dinner, so we organised the dinner, which is great. And we had 200 odd people there in April this year, and it'll be oversubscribed in 26 because it went so well. It was awesome. So part of this medic zone thing, and this is a free thing for military people, it's like a coordination of what's going on in the army world, predominantly the Royal Army Medical Corps, which I was part of for 15 years. And there's a section in there, always free, totally free. So I hope you don't mind me mentioning this, where people can come and put the details in, tell us about events, tell us about reunions and gatherings and socials. Sadly, obituaries, there's always loads. Sadly, that's just the end of it. There's always loads of people checking out. But when Mick passed away, he was also the main coordinator of all things funeral. So I thought, well, that can't be a hole. We can't have a hole there. That's so important. People need to know when their mates that they were in the Gulf War with, or Bosnia with, or the Falklands, they need to know when they're not around anymore, and they want to go and pay their respects. So there's a place in Medic Zone called the Military Zone where we can put all these events and obituaries and links to the webcasts for those all around the world. So I think that's a really important thing to me.
Can you send me the link?
I will, yeah. It's kicking off next week. We had the final meeting yesterday with these web designers. Final testing this weekend. Boom, going live next week.
That's very special.
It is. It's really good. Yeah.
That's amazing, darling. Thank you so much. Anything else?
No, that's all good. We're cooking on gas.
I've loved this conversation.
It's been really good fun, actually. I've really enjoyed it, and I won't.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you would like to be involved in the Meant for More movement, then please drop me a line at lisa@lisaclifford.co.uk. Whether that's you're interested in being on the podcast, taking part in any of the trainings, or would just love to know how you can help empower others, then let's have a conversation. Thank you for listening, and we'll connect again very soon.